If I were starting a vegetable garden in 2026, I would not design it for maximum harvests or ideal seasons. I would design it for failure, stress, and unpredictability because those are now normal conditions. Weather is less stable, time is more limited, and energy is more precious. A garden that only works when everything goes right is not useful. A garden that keeps feeding you when things go wrong is. That is the difference between abundance thinking and resilience thinking. My goal would not be impressive yields, but dependable food with the least possible stress. Number 1. Grow only what actually feeds you and stores well. The first decision I would make is to stop asking what I can grow and start asking what I actually eat. Most people overestimate how much variety they need and underestimate how much consistency matters. In hard times, reliable food beats interesting food every time. I would grow fewer crops, but I would grow them deeply, with care, repetition, and backup plans. The core of my garden would be potatoes, onions, carrots, beans, and greens. These are not exciting crops, but they are powerful ones. Potatoes provide calories and energy. Onions and carrots store well and form the base of countless meals. Beans offer protein and soil improvement. Greens supply vitamins and minerals quickly and repeatedly. Together, they cover most nutritional needs without complexity. This approach reduces risk. When you focus on a small group of crops, you learn them intimately. You know how they respond to heat, cold, drought, pests, and poor soil. You notice problems early. You improve timing and spacing. You save seed. You build confidence. A garden full of unfamiliar or delicate crops demands constant attention and constant learning. A garden built around staples becomes predictable and calm. Storage matters as much as harvest. I would choose varieties known for keeping well, not just producing fast. Food that lasts extends the value of every growing season. Cured onions, stored carrots, dried beans, and potatoes in a cool space mean the garden keeps feeding you long after the beds are empty. That stability removes pressure and panic. You do not need everything to succeed at once when some of your food is already secured. Growing fewer crops also simplifies planning. Succession becomes clearer. Failures are easier to replace. Seed saving becomes practical. The garden becomes a system instead of a collection of experiments. This is not about limiting yourself forever, but about building a reliable base before adding extras. Resilience begins with restraint. Number 2, build soil and water systems that survive bad seasons. Once crop choices are simplified, the real work begins below the surface. Soil is not a background element. It is the engine of resilience. I would build permanent beds and stop digging. Tilling and constant disturbance break soil structure, destroy fungal networks, and reduce the soil's ability to hold water. In unstable climates, soil must buffer extremes, not amplify them. Permanent beds allow soil life to settle and strengthen year after year. Defined paths prevent compaction. Roots, microbes, and fungi form stable relationships. Water infiltrates instead of running off. During droughts, deep organic matter holds moisture. During heavy rains, structured soil drains without collapsing. This is not theory. It is observable reality in healthy soil. Compost would not be something I make once a year and forget. Compost would be a system. Every kitchen scrap, every garden trimming, every fallen leaf has a place. I would use multiple compost methods: surface composting, trench composting, bins for hot compost, and slow decomposition under mulch. The goal is continuous feeding of the soil, not occasional correction. Mulch would be everywhere. Bare soil is weak soil. It loses moisture, overheats, erodes, and invites weeds. Mulch protects, feeds, and stabilizes. It reduces watering needs and moderates temperature swings. Over time, it becomes soil. A thick mulch layer is one of the simplest and most powerful resilience tools available, and it costs very little. Water planting would be passive, not reactive. I would place the garden where water already wants to go, not on high ground that dries out first. Beds would follow contour when possible. Small swales, shallow basins, or berms would slow and hold rainfall. I would store water when it is available and rely on gravity whenever possible. The goal is not perfect irrigation, but reliable access even when convenience disappears. Healthy soil and thoughtful water placement reduce labor. They forgive mistakes. They buy time. When you miss a watering or a heat wave hits, the system absorbs the shock. That is resilience, not control, but capacity. Number 3, reduce risk before chasing growth or yield. Many gardeners try to push boundaries, earlier planting, later harvests, higher yields. I would do the opposite. I would focus on removing risk. Protection would come before planting. Windbreaks, covers, shade, and cold protection would be built into the design from the start. Wind dries soil, damages plants, and stresses crops even when water is adequate. Simple windbreaks change entire microclimates. Row covers reduce pest pressure and temperature swings. Cold frames and simple greenhouses reduce frost risk and extend seasons without forcing plants into extremes. These tools are not about maximizing output. They are about smoothing variability. I would avoid single points of failure. Instead of planting all beans in one bed, I would split them across multiple beds and planting times. If disease or pests hit one area, others survive. Redundancy is not waste. It is insurance. Automation would be used where it removes mental load. Timed irrigation, gravity-fed systems, and simple routines keep the garden functioning even when I am tired, sick, or distracted. Resilience includes human limits. A garden that depends on constant attention is fragile. I would choose varieties bred for reliability, not novelty. Disease resistance, stable yields, and tolerance of stress matter more than size or color. Local adaptation matters. Seed saved from plants that survived poor seasons becomes part of the resilience loop. Each year, the garden teaches the next one. Protection reduces emergency work. When systems are in place, reactions become adjustments instead of crises. That is the difference between managing a garden and being managed by it. Number 4, design the garden to work even when life gets hard. The final layer of resilience is psychological and practical. A garden should support life, not consume it. I would design clear zones, production beds, compost areas, storage spaces, and paths that allow observation without disruption. Labels, records, and simple layouts reduce decision fatigue. I would leave space to observe. Not every area needs to be productive. Observation reveals patterns. Where frost lingers, where pests appear first, where soil dries fastest. Noticing early prevents panic later. Resilience is built through calm attention, not force. Functional diversity would matter more than species count. Legumes improve soil. Roots break compaction. Greens provide fast nutrition. Perennials stabilize systems. Each plant plays a role beyond yield. When one function weakens, others compensate. Storage and preservation would be planned alongside planting. Harvests are only useful if they can be kept. Curing, drying, fermenting, and simple storage turn short-term abundance into long-term security. This removes pressure from the growing season and spreads effort across the year. Most importantly, I would accept that not every season will be good. A resilient garden does not prevent failure. It limits damage and speeds recovery. Each year adds organic matter, knowledge, and confidence. Over time, the system becomes stronger than the conditions it faces. This kind of garden does not demand perfection. It works when you are busy, tired, or distracted. It feeds you without drama. It becomes part of your life instead of another obligation. If I were starting a vegetable garden in 2026, this is how I would do it. Not for maximum harvests, not for appearance, and not for novelty. I would build it for reliability, calm, and long-term nourishment. A garden like this does not just grow food. It grows security.